It's going.
So what have you done for years for professional development in your teaching area, both personally and what did your school provide opportunities for you to do?
Well, I started teaching in the early and mid-1990s, and so it was really at the cusp of the development and use of things like the internet for professional development. And a lot of people don't know that in the province that I've taught in or began teaching in, which was Saskatchewan, they were very forward-thinking in terms of creating social media contexts for development of teachers. They released the curriculum online. They released it in CD-ROM format, and they had forums of conversation for stakeholders in the curriculum. So they had spaces for students, parents, teachers, administrators to engage in a dialogue about what was being presented in the curriculum and how it could be manifested in the classroom. So that really was, and again, I'm not a technology person, but I was really interested in that avenue of communication. So that was one aspect, and that was like right from the beginning. And I was very fortunate as a beginning teacher because principals took an interest in me, and it really related to what administrators were willing to do to actually fund. And speaking of technology, what they were able to fund. So right from the beginning, I was tapped to get involved with initiatives in subject area groups at the district level. And that's an excellent form of PD because it's informally mentorship. You always have teachers who are very well experienced and have piloted curriculum and have worked on these committees. So you're learning a number of things from them. You're learning about their practice, your own practice, but you're also learning about the culture that exists and how you can transform that culture if you so wish to. Another initiative that happened was in my second teaching position, the principal came and asked me, what would you like to do? And he got me connected with a teacher at another district who was working in an innovative way with language and literacy education. So there was a mentorship, called mentorship. Yeah. It was actually called mentorship. There are other aspects of PD, the traditional going to events, conferences that are subject area specific, or if you're a beginning teacher, often organizations such as unions will offer beginning teacher kind of not subject area but life support. Yeah. You know, how to manage being a beginning teacher, because it's a very challenging thing to do, is to get into the profession, because it can be very isolated. Once the door closes, or once you close the door and you've got your students. But I think what's really, what I lived out was that as overwhelming as things can be, you need to reach out as well to colleagues and not be afraid to say, I'm thinking about trying this, I want to try this. So I experienced formal support and very informal support because I reached out as well. And I read a lot. Yeah. I read a lot.
Journals and stuff
I subscribed to professional journals, and it was just, this is before kids, BK. So both my wife and I were educators, and we subscribed to a couple of journals, and I thought it was very important because it gives you an international perspective of trends and issues, as well as, you know, and you get to situate yourself in relation to that.
Is that where you found most of your new teaching strategies, was through journals?
It wasn't even, I mean, it was sort of getting beyond the thinking about strategies. Yeah. It was really thinking about where am I in my thoughts about being a teacher, in a, certainly in a specific subject area, but within the ebb and flow of education itself. And in terms of specific strategies, that came very much from me just digging around. Yeah. That came from me, like I said, going into the internet. That was the beginning of Kathy Schrock's site. So this is like really Stone Age early stuff, right? And going into professional development, subject area, conferences and workshops, that's where the strategies emerge. And often the speakers will say, this is something you can take and use in the classroom tomorrow.
Yeah.
And those are really important aspects of professional development. But like I said, professional development for me was also looking broadly, ontologically, about who I was as a teacher and how I needed to develop as a teacher.
And so what was the most motivating or interesting way you developed as a teacher?
It's still happening.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. I mean, teaching your class is very different from teaching any other class. And I have specific sort of underpinnings of who I am and how I like to approach things, but how they're lived out in the class differs day to day. I think one of the biggest changes that happened for me is when I got to teach. Two big things come to mind is I got to teach a grade 6 class when I was a beginning teacher, and it was fantastic because I taught them almost everything except for French. I taught them music and math and art and social and computers and science and everything else I just missed. But I was their teacher, and I got to see their development, and it really at that point came to me that I need to ask really good questions. It's not just about providing answers, but asking really important questions, because these kids will do amazing things if I ask the right questions and let them ask questions. The other thing that happened is I think arriving here and getting to teach graduate classes was really important to my development as a teacher, and just providing the opportunity and space for people to engage in a manner that they need to. I still look for connections to what I'm asked to by an institution in relation to my research interests and the frameworks that are presented through various subject disciplines. But no, it is that, again, for me, it's very relational. It's that respect that I hope I create with students in terms of acknowledging and honoring who they are, but who they need to be, and trying to guide when I can. And sometimes I feel like I get it right, and often I feel like I'm not, because I'm not spending enough energy in a particular way. So yeah, it's always emergent. But those are two kind of broad events experientially for me, teaching grade 6 and teaching graduate classes. And I think, interestingly, the perspective that people bring and the energy that people bring was very similar. Yeah.
So if there was any advice you could give for the graduating class of 2014 on what we can start doing right away to keep developing as teachers, so what would that look like?
Frankly, everything you're going to do is going to develop you as a teacher in your personal life and your professional life. But to target something, I would highly suggest your energies are going to be drawn from in all areas of the school. You're going to be immersed. You're going to be asked to coach, to lead this, to do that. And those aren't bad things. Those are very positive things. But I think to have meaningful relationships of being able to talk to a spouse or a partner or another teacher whom you build a relationship of trust with, to say that, I just need to cry for a bit. And because that might happen. It could very well happen because things get overwhelming. And then in addition to that, there are wonderful opportunities because of social media to connect, reach out and connect. There are a multitude, like you're demonstrating for us, through blogs, through professional blogs, personal blogs. And it may not be that you want to go out and start composing one right away, but there are many that you can take a look at and understand that other people, you're not as isolated. There are other people experiencing similar things. And a lot of the journals are online right now. And not only are they online as print, they're online as visual, audio. They'll have clips from their classrooms. They'll have, even things like the TED Talks. These are all wonderful possibilities for developing your understandings of who you are and what you can do in the classroom. And if you so choose, if you are oriented that way, talk to your students. They will really help you develop as a teacher.
Correct. All right. Well, thanks, Gene.
Yeah, thank you very much.